Having starred in movies such as The Hunger Games, Captain America, and The Devil Wears Prada, our next presenter is one of the finest actors in the business, the incredible Stanley Tucci.
Okay. I'm so uncomfortable now. Thank you for that introduction. And I only wish it were true. So, okay, I'm going to read this thing about, what's her name? Okay. I am thrilled to be here tonight to recognize a fellow performer who has served as an inspiration to youth and to the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning community. Tonight, the Trevor Hero Award, instantly wrong, Awards honors a mother, an activist, an actress who has been a longtime advocate and ally for LGBTQ rights. Susan Sarandon has been an avid supporter of marriage equality, speaking out passionately against homophobia in the media and striving to increase funding for HIV/AIDS research. Susan has appeared in multiple public service announcements, spreading awareness of LGBTQ youth, homelessness, HIV prevention, and equality for all. As a UNICEF ambassador, Susan helps improve the lives of young people around the world. Her PSA for GLAAD's Love is Love campaign sent a powerful message about the reality of marriage equality. As she sat plucking petals off a flower, Susan mused, "He loves me, he loves me not, he loves me. He loves me not." Pause. Would "she loves me" affect you any more than "he loves me"? My guess is not. Throughout her career, Susan has chosen roles that challenge conventional beliefs about sex, gender, race, class, religion, and faith. Susan has spoken up and spoken out about Injustice in the Celluloid Closet, a documentary about the on-screen depiction of LGBTQ people in film, starred in the cult classic The Rocky Horror Picture Show, wowed audiences. I know, right? With her Oscar-nominated performances in Thelma, I feel like I'm gonna be here all night. She's done too much. Thelma and Louise, Lorenzo's Oil, The Client, Atlantic City, and earned an Academy Award and SAG Award for her role as Sister Helen, a nun consoling a death row inmate in Death Man Walking. Having recently appeared in Jeff, Who Lives at Home, she can be seen now in That's My Boy with Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg, which actually, that's the one I really want to see. And later this year in Robot and Frank with Frank Langella, The Wedding with Robert De Niro and Diane Keaton, Arbitrage with Richard Gere, and Cloud Atlas with Tom Hanks and Halle Berry. I'm not in any of these films, and I don't really know why, but we'll figure that out later. As you can see, Susan is having a relaxing summer, but I wrote a little something about Susan, and I just want to read it now. Well, all right. I mean, I'm up here. Many years ago, a relative told me that he was working the phones at an organization that helped gay and lesbian transgender teens who were at risk of committing suicide. I now know that he was one of the first to be involved with the Trevor Project. He, like so many of you, have helped make this organization as highly respected as it is today. But to do so, to give of oneself in this way, requires first, an empathetic nature, secondly, a generosity of spirit, thirdly, a vision of how one can effect change, and finally, the wherewithal and the bravery to actually do it. In short, to tell the truth, to bring forth the truth. And Susan Sarandon, with whom I've been fortunate to work a number of times, none of those films were listed there for some odd reason, but we'll talk about that later, but whom I also know She has done all of these things as an artist, she's done them as a mother, she's done them as a friend, and she's done them, maybe most importantly, as a political and social activist. Her support for humanitarian causes is something that we all aspire to, and her involvement in the Trevor Project has been invaluable, and the reason I am honored to give her this award tonight. Susan, where are you?
Thank you. That was great, Stanley. Thank you. Thanks. I really appreciate Stanley is one of the bravest actors and people I know, and I'm really, really honored to be here, and I'm really thrilled that I got this award from Stanley. And I don't know why you weren't in those movies either. You're in everything. I mean, you work more than anyone. You have so many different wigs, noses, the whole. Years ago, a very dear, dear friend of mine who I loved so much was one of the first people that I knew that died of what was then called the gay cancer. He had an amazing memorial in a theater with hundreds of people who adored him and had worked with him on a soap opera and on Broadway and off Broadway, an award-winning actor who died alone. He died alone because this was the Reagan years, and all that administration gave in order to help people through this terrifying time was shame. The message was that whoever you were, if you had this disease, you deserved it because of who you were and the way you lived. Many people took to the streets and fought very hard to find dignity at this time and obviously medical treatment, but most of all, to have a voice. Now, how do you convince someone that they're not worthy because of the very essence of who they are? How do people grow up to be adults who are ashamed? There are cultures. This is a framing thing. There are cultures, and I'm sure, Jazz, that you already know this because you seem to know everything. And I'm waiting to see you in Annie because I think that's going to be next. But there are cultures where if you're transgender, you just go straight to being a shaman because you are considered to be so special. And yet, somehow, the message, if you're different, and God knows New York is, one would think, more open and more tolerant, but still not tolerant enough. Somehow the message starts when you're very young that if you're gay, or any of the other letters tonight, that you're not worthy. I had my kids, my very young son was playing soccer out in the suburbs. And I mean young so that, when they're playing and a plane goes overhead, everyone stops and just looks, that young. And when we got in the car, I had a big car, and I was taking some of these kids. They're not New Yorkers. They were from, Upper Westchester, where he was playing soccer. Somebody said, "Oh, don't cross your legs. It's gay. Don't do that." And everybody started saying, "I'm not gay. I'm not gay." Now, clearly, none of them knew what it even meant to be gay, but somehow they already knew that it was a bad thing to be called gay. So after those idiot children got out, I said, all right, look, the word gay has two meanings. It can mean that you're very happy, And it can mean that you love someone of the same sex. And then I named any number of our friends who actually had been in couples for a long time. Tom and Michael, Todd and Tony, Suzanne and Nikki, who, gave them like that they love each other the way that your dad and I love each other. And from the back of the car, my younger son, too, strapped in, said, well, then I'm gay because I'm happy and I love Brian. Now, clearly what we need, and I thank MTV and I thank all the other people that are writing movies, that are writing books. The letter Q is a fabulous tool to have. It's up to all of us to somehow make it clear that being different is really fabulous. And And as mothers, as fathers, as teachers, I love, by the way, sorry, Bobby, but I love the Q. I mean, if everybody was more questioning at the end of all this, straight, whatever they are, we need more straight questioning kids, and not just gay questioning kids or transgender, bisexual, whatever. So let's go for the Q for everybody. And I know that the hardest thing, and it's happened to me for other reasons, but the hardest thing is to be separated from your tribe. It's a very lonely place to be. And I'm very honored to get this award because the Trevor Project is there at the end of the line with a voice that tells you that you're not alone. And if we can just get rid of that sense of isolation, to get those children into the next morning when they realize that they've gone another day, when they find someone else to talk to. God knows how many fabulous artists, teachers, scientists, people that will contribute so much to our future are out there waiting to be given the courage to be who they are. And God, salute Tempest and Jeremiah, was it? Yeah? You guys, I mean, you're rocking it. That's, to be that together at your age, and especially coming of age in a place where you're rejected or where it's very hard. But know that you're so far ahead of the game now, because as adults, when you're trying to figure that stuff out later, it's even worse. So You're way ahead, and I salute you, and I thank all of you who have made the Trevor Project possible. It's a fabulous, fabulous, very worthy, very effective group, and I encourage you all to keep it up. And I thank you for this honor, and I hope that in 10 years all the phone calls are just about something really superficial. Thank you.